selection, standardized testing, you name it, leadership, um, boy, just the whole process. And so anything that comes up, and we meet with students early on to determine what's the best fit for them, both with course selection and the college selection.
And also joining us this morning is Corey Gallagher, who is the Assistant Director of Middle and Upper School. You want to introduce yourself, Corey?
Sure. Hey, everybody. My name is Corey Gallagher. As Joe said, I'm the Assistant Director of the Middle and Upper School. This is going to be my fourth year at Barstow. But prior to moving into my current role, I was the freshman history teacher. I'm a historian by training. My position here as an administrator is really focused on student success, helping students to make the most of their time at Barstow, whether that be helping students with, issues of time management, to, study skills, to how to negotiate with teachers. Scott's going to help your kid find the best school for them. I can help them pick out the school colors that look best on them. So I handle a whole range of the other things that students need help with.
We're going to go through, we're going to give you some general information. I'm going to say general information, but we're actually going to be a little bit more in depth today than we will at our in-person meetings, where we'll kind of go over the life of the school, what the daily schedule would look like, before and after school activities. That's what next week's session and the July session and the August sessions that you signed up for are really about. And I don't want to be repeating. I want to value your time and not repeat myself twice. So this is going to actually be more nuanced in terms of talking specifically about the courses that you might take at the upper school level. And so we've done some introductions. I was a little late in pushing record, but we're currently recording. I will send this out, the recording of the presentation out after we finish. And I'm also going to attach the slides, which has all of our contact information. Scott Hill always loves to add his cell phone number in there, so you can see it's down there. Scott can say this, but he welcomes text messages. He welcomes phone calls, especially as students get to be juniors and seniors. They're applying to colleges. You're going to have some questions that need pretty prompt answers, and he works 24/7. You want to add anything to that, Scott? I mean, I watched it with my own eyes for 5 years. It's constant.
No, I appreciate you putting my contact information on there, Joe. I mean, I think it's important that students and parents have full access. So text me anytime you have a question, and that way we can tackle it together.
This is what we're going to talk about just over the next 45 minutes or so. Barstow's graduation requirements and resources that will be in this presentation that you can look at after we finish. The required courses that students take every year. Very important, the different rigor levels that we offer here at Barstow and finding a good academic fit for each student. We have a number, probably a little bit more so this year than in past years, of incoming 10th and 11th graders. So we'll talk a little bit about transfer credit, the Barstow transcript, and then grade point average, and then what you need to do over the summer, and next questions. The one gentleman that couldn't join us today his name is David Kramer. He's our Director of Academics. I believe he's on vacation this week, which is well earned. I mentioned him because he handles all scheduling. And I believe he reached out via email last week to begin kind of the course selection process and see, what classes you might all want to take. So as over the summer, you will be communicating with David, probably through email, in terms of filling out forms to make sure that you get all of your course selections turned in. Barstow graduation requirements. A very, very hot topic, I know, but important to talk about. A semester course gives you a half credit. A year-long course gives you 1 credit. Here at Barstow, 25 credits are needed for graduation. Students each year take 6 or 7 courses. So you get the choice. So that's one of the first choices that you get to make when you think about your schedule. Do I want to take 6 out of 8 courses, or do I want to take 7 out of 8 courses? That means that you're going to have either 1 study hall or you're going to have 2 study halls over the course of the day. Well, we haven't declared what our daily schedule will be next year, but it's looking like on a Monday, all of the 8 courses will meet for a short period of time, like a 40-minute period of time. And then we'll have a block schedule Tuesday through Friday. 4 classes a day, 90 minutes. They will rotate a bit, is the plan. We're cementing the lunch times to make sure that the schedule works for from an all school perspective. So we'll be sending out more information soon on what the daily schedule looks like. But other than Monday, when all 8 classes meet, then we'll have 4 classes a day. You'll meet each week of 5 days. You'll be in class 3 times, twice for 90 minutes and once for 40 minutes is what it's looking like. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about, do I want 1 free period or study hall or 2 study halls? As ninth graders, they start as study halls, proctored, quiet, in a specific location. We do take attendance. As you get older, if you're a 10th grader or 11th grader, you've hit the ground running, you're doing well, academics are not a concern, behavior is not a concern, they turn into free periods, which you don't have to go to a specific location in the building. You stay on campus, but you can work wherever you like. We have students in the hallway, we have students in common areas, we have students outside. We try to make it as collegial an experience as possible, giving students as much freedom as possible, provided they can handle it. All right. One thing I'd mention, and maybe Scott can touch on a little bit, and it goes to academic fit, is just because you're taking maybe 6 courses and 2 free periods or 2 study halls, that doesn't mean your load is less rigorous than a student that takes 7 courses. So it's really about finding the right fit for you and what you might be doing after school. Are you going to be in musicals or the plays? Are you playing athletics? There's a lot of factors to consider in whether you want to take 6 or 7 courses. Corey or Scott, anything else you want to add to that in the 6 or 7 course discussion?
Well, like Joe says, I mean, we want to seek a balance. We have extracurricular opportunities. They're abundant at Barstow. So we want to make sure that we offer 3 levels of coursework. And I think that's probably a slide coming up, but we offer college prep, honors, and advanced placement / honors college. Honors college and advanced placement is trademarked by the College Board. So that trademark goes on the transcript. The honors college coursework, which is at the same level as AP, is Barstow coursework that we feel like has the same rigor. So we just want to make sure that, it's all about the fit. And so we want to make sure that you're at the right level. You're taking, we like to stretch students. That's no secret at Barstow. And so, based on teacher recommendation, past performance, student desire, then we'll look at the schedule and say, what's best for each student.
And I'll add too that it's really not uncommon for students in their first year in the upper school to stretch themselves very thin as you're trying new things, right? And we encourage students to do that, right? It's one of the things I value most about Barstow is that we encourage students to do things that maybe they don't have a natural aptitude for. So students have a really holistic experience in which they get to try it and put on a lot of different versions of what they could be interested in their time here. And especially in the first year with so many opportunities being available, it's not uncommon for students to really put themselves in a position where they're having a difficult time balancing all of that. So if you find yourself in that position next year, just come into my office and let's chat about what we can do in terms of strategies to get you through what you've committed yourselves to successfully. Our faculty can be very flexible, especially with first year upper school students, as they're trying to figure out how that work-life balance. So, I want to encourage everybody to try some new things, to get involved, but also don't be afraid of saying that you may have bit off more than you can chew if you find yourself in that position, and then we'll figure out how to manage it.
So back to graduation requirements, and they're doable. They're minimal, I would say, allowing students to explore the areas of interest for them. And as you get older, you get much more flexibility in what you can take on a year-to-year basis. So 25 total credits are needed. Every year you take an English class, English 9, 10, 11, or 12. Every year you take a math class. 3 years you'll be in a science class. 3 years you'll be in a history or social science class. And 3 years you'll be in a world language class. We offer 3 languages. We offer Spanish, French, Chinese. So you have 3 options there. We require 2 credits in the arts. All 9th graders take a class called Art Fundamentals, which is a semester-long class. So you get half a credit with that course. And then we also require half a credit, a semester-long performing art course. We have quite a few to choose from. We have acting, we have choral groups, we have, you can be in the musical, and that counts as a performing art credit. Even our students that are in BTVN, our video journalism class, we consider it a performing art course as you're on camera performing for your peers 4 days a week doing the school news. So there's a lot of different options for what qualifies as the performing art credit. And then you just need 2 more semester courses over your 4 years to get to the 2 credit requirement. PE, we require 1 credit. That's PE and athletics. We have a class that's called Strength and Conditioning. It's a semester-long class. You can take it twice over your 4 years of upper school, or you can play a season of the sport. If you play a season of a sport, you get half a credit. So playing, a season of tennis and a season of basketball would get you to the 1 credit requirement. So every season that you play, you get half a credit. We have a fall season, winter season, spring season. I'll talk more about, we will talk more about the extracurricular opportunities when you come in person, and what can be done. And then our last requirement is community service hours, service learning, which gives you a half credit. It's not a class that you take. We require 80 hours of service at the point of graduation. Most of our students go well beyond 80 hours, doing hundreds, if not thousands of hours. Some of the hours that you get will be done, maybe as the sophomore class or the freshman class doing something together. The only requirement is getting to the 80 hours. We encourage students to break it off in chunks and do 20 each year. It's structured so that you do 20 hours per year. 2 of the hours can be Barstow related, maybe working the concession stand at a basketball game or something along those lines. We want 18 of the hours each year to be non-Barstow related, working with a nonprofit or organization with no affiliation to Barstow whatsoever. And so 20 hours a year over 4 years, getting you to that 80 total hour requirement at the time of graduation. Questions so far, as I just blew right through the graduation requirements in a very, very fast fashion. You can unmute yourself and ask any questions. We also have the chat function available. Feel free to chat and any questions that you have, and I can kind of moderate the chat as people have questions when they when they want to type them in. On the right-hand side, I have some important resources. I'll open the course catalog here. This is probably the most important resource that we're going to share today in this presentation, and I'll send this to you later on. But this is, as you can see, it's a 63-page document. I don't expect you to read it cover to cover right now, but I want you to know it exists. We try to structure it simply. So right at the beginning, we have the requirements that I just mentioned. And we also kind of talk about our rigor of curriculum that we're going to touch on here in a few minutes. And then there's some additional resources here that you might find interesting. Required courses by grade level, prerequisite guide. As a 9th grader, you can't take AP Physics yet. You have to wait a couple more years and take some other courses first. And then right here, courses open to 9th grade students. This is a nice document as you're working with David to choose courses that you want to take at the 9th grade level. This lists all the courses that a 9th grade student could take in their schedule. And so this is nice to refer to these 3 resources here. And then we break down by department all the courses that we offer inside of each department with kind of a flow chart as to what can be taken. Let's go to math, which is by far our most complicated flow chart. But you can see, we have some 9th graders that take Algebra 1. We have some 7th graders here that take Algebra 1. That's when we start delineating here in middle school. For the most part, we either have 7th graders in Algebra 1 or pre-algebra. And then you start moving down the chart. The dark arrows indicate common pathways that students take, and the light arrows indicate possible pathways that students take from course to course, but less traveled by students. So over here on the right is our most advanced track, but many, many students are are adjusting their track at various points in their upper school experience to other courses. So it's probably a lot to take in at the moment, but I want you to know that these flow charts exist. Take some time, really look at them so you can, hopefully the goal is to provide a picture of what 4 years or more of math might look like. I say or more because it's very common for students to take more than just 4 math courses here at Barstow, more than just 3 science courses, 3 social science courses. Students are really diving into their passions. They're studying what they want to study, which means if they're passionate about science, they might take 5 or 6 science courses in their upper school experience. I have the academic profile here. Scott, you want to talk about the academic profile and what it is?
Yeah, the academic profile is a document that we provide to prospective families, but also to colleges. So anytime a Barstow student applies to a college, obviously all those documents are sent electronically through Naviance. That's the software platform that we use. And, we want to give the college context. Each student is judged within the context of the school they attend and the opportunities afforded to him or her. So colleges will be able to see, what our average GPA is for that class. They'll be able to see the coursework that we offer. They'll be able to see the colleges that our students have, matriculated to over the past 5 years, over the previous year, information like that. So it's very helpful to a college. Plus, it gives them the fact, that we're on a 4.0 weighted scale. So it just gives them context about Barstow. So when they perform that holistic review, and they're looking at the applicant pool and Barstow specifically, they'll have more information.
I put the major dates calendar on there. That's the school year in the most macro overview. When does school start? When is winter break, spring break, parent teacher conferences, that kind of thing, just so you can put them on your calendar. And then I put our new family welcome webpage. Hopefully you're familiar with that by now. You've been kind of perusing it. I'm seeing some nods on the screen, so that's lovely. So let's talk. So those are the general graduation requirements that we have here at Barstow. Let's talk about the courses that are required each year. What do students have to take each year? And I mentioned more freedom and flexibility as you get older, and hopefully this chart will show you that I do mean it. You do get a lot more freedom and flexibility. As a 9th grader, it's a little bit more prescribed for our students. Every 9th grader is in English 9. Every 9th grader is going to take some math course. I mentioned it could be Algebra 1. It could be geometry. It could be Algebra 2, Algebra 2 honors. So that's where there's going to be a fair amount of individuality in what students take. I would say most of our 9th graders are in either Algebra 2 or geometry, right? But very common for 9th graders to be in Algebra 1, intermediate algebra. We have a lot of other options that students can pursue. All 9th graders take biology. All 9th graders take ancient world history. You can have Corey talk more about that in a few minutes. And then I mentioned this art fundamentals class that all 9th graders take as well. Now, these are the courses that you need to take. One thing that's not on here is a world language, right? Do you have to take a world language in 9th grade? No, but you need 3 units in upper school, 3 credits. And so all 9th graders really should take a world language in 9th grade as they're working towards getting to that 3 credit requirement. All 3 of us always stress trying to meet our graduation requirements as early as possible, because then it allows students to have more freedom and flexibility in the 11th and 12th grade year. And that's when students really want that freedom and flexibility. So a student that chooses not to take a world language in 9th grade, well, now they have to take one in 12th grade now. And so it becomes problematic in 12th grade when maybe they want to take something else. So we always suggest students take as many graduation requirement courses as early as possible. Okay?
And Joe, I'd like to
Yep.
jump in here. When Joe's mentioning these, obviously he's mentioned the graduation requirements. So that the 3 is the minimum in the upper school that a lot of our students would take, through French 5, Spanish, which is Spanish AP, or French AP or Chinese AP. That's pretty common. I mean, colleges want to see a student take a world language out as far as they can. So that makes them more competitive in the pool. But, if world language is not you know what I'm saying, your passion or you're not your strength, then those students probably would have the minimum requirement of 3 years in the upper school. Okay. Thanks, Joe.
When we go to 10th grade, still there's some pretty, you know, fairly prescribed again. English 10, another math course. In 10th grade, students take physical science or chemistry honors, one or the other. And then all sophomores are taking modern world history. And so these are the 4 courses required. We're also hoping that students, remember you're taking 6 or 7 courses. So that leaves, 3 openings. One is probably a world language. And then hopefully you're, adding your arts credit that needs to be fulfilled. Maybe it's strength and conditioning. So you're working towards that PE credit. Maybe you're interested in yearbook. So yearbook is one of the courses. Maybe you really want to pursue the arts. And so Barstow Singers is a course that you want to take. So that's where we're adding courses to our schedule to fill it out. All right. We get to the 11th grade year, even less courses are required. English 11, a math course, and all of our juniors are taking United States history. All right. And then it becomes, where are you in terms of graduation requirements? One of the things I try to do each summer, I print out all student transcripts and then I look at them and then I write them a little handwritten note regarding how they're doing with regard to graduation requirements. So 9th grade's fairly easy. Hey, you're doing great. Keep up the good work. When I get to 11th and 12th grade, it's a little bit more unique, looking good. Remember, you need a 0.5 performing art class over the next 2 years. Or, don't forget that you need a 3rd science credit, that kind of thing. So, a lot of students, it's not on here as a required science course, but a lot of our juniors are doubling up in sciences in the 11th grade year. They want to take maybe AP chemistry and they want to take physics. It'd be very common here at Barstow. And it's all dependent also, this is 10th and 11th and 12th in particular is really when you're contacting Scott in the college counseling office to have nuanced discussion about the courses that you want to take compared to the college that you're trying to pursue. And Scott is very honest and open about the course rigor and the course load that you might want to take if you are seeking maybe the most selective institutions in the country, or if you are not pursuing the most selective institutions, maybe you want to be competitive in getting a large scholarship to a local university like Missouri or KU, something like that. So his knowledge base is huge. He will direct you, if you're trying to go to Vanderbilt, he'll tell you the courses. If you're kind of thinking, what courses do I need to take? He will tell you, believe me. By the time we get to 12th grade, students have to take an English course and a math course. And then they have a lot of freedom, provided hopefully by 12th grade year, they've met all of our requirements for the most part. And then they can really delve into the areas that they want to study, taking 6 or 7 courses still. And then we want 4 of the courses to be in what colleges consider core areas. That's English, math, science, history, world language. So those are really the parameters when you get to 12th grade, and you have a lot of freedom provided you've budgeted your schedule of 4 years appropriately. How about questions before we move on? Throwing a lot of information at everybody. Don't be shy. No? All right, so we have mostly 9th graders, I would say, on this call here. So English 9, a math course, probably algebra 2 or geometry, biology, ancient world history, a language of some kind. So now we're at 5. Art fundamentals for a semester is going to be a 6th course. Some students right there, that might be your first semester. You're done, right? And then for other 9th graders, you're filling in the rest of your schedule, maybe with another year-long course or 2 or 3 semester-long courses. If you want to take 7 or for a 6th course, you're going to need a semester-long course opposite art fundamentals. All right. Let's talk about the rigor levels that we have here at Barstow. You can see, if I go back to this previous slide, English 9, and then there's honors in parentheses. Biology, and there's honors in parentheses. Ancient world history, there's honors in parentheses. All 9th graders start at the college prep level in English, biology, and ancient world history. And then at semester, they have the option of moving into the honors level of English, biology, and ancient world history. And honors is the second rigor level that we offer here. Scott mentioned college prep, which is our baseline, honors, step above, and then advanced placement or honors college is the most rigorous courses that we offer. All right. Corey, do you want to talk a little bit about the differences that you put in place when you were teaching ancient world history at the 9th grade level between what you did for the college prep students and what you did for the honor students?
Sure. Yeah. So and this is going to be pretty common kind of across the board with our classes. And I think for the majority of freshmen, what you'll find is that in the first semester of the classes, so there are a handful of classes in which you do not have an honors option available until you get to the second semester. So English and world history are kind of the two in which that is primarily the case. I think what you'll find is that the first semester is pretty representative of a halfway point between the honors option and the college prep option. And then as you make that decision about what direction you want to go, for the second semester, if you go college prep, it'll be a little bit easier. If you go the honors route, it'll be a little bit more challenging. Generally speaking, the way in which we arrange those classes, because we do, especially in the humanities, we have the students, regardless of level, in class together, is that we ask students who take honors to dive a little bit deeper, to think a little bit more critically about what it is that they're doing. So it might not even be that they're, I think that parents have and students sort of think of like, well, if I do honors, I'm going to have to read another book, for example, or I'm going to have to do more work out of the textbook. That's actually usually kind of not the case. Usually it's that we're asking students to engage with the material that everybody is reading, that everybody is working on, but at a deeper level. And so like a lot of times honors students will be, for example, encouraged to lead a discussion in class about what it is that we read, rather than just participating in a discussion in class about what it is that we read. So it's really more about depth, mastery of the content, wrestling with the content, thinking about it in a more intellectual way than what we would ask of college prep students. Now, that doesn't mean that if you're a college prep student in class with honors students, that we're asking you to sit there like a bump on a log and just regurgitate what you hear from everyone else. And in fact, the high performing college prep students will still be engaging at a high intellectual level. But we're going to push students who are engaged in honors to think more deeply about what it is that we're doing in our coursework.
We do have a weighted GPA system here. So if you're taking honors and AP coursework and making the same grade that you would in a college prep course, your GPA calculation is a bit higher. So keep that in mind as you're, choosing courses. It is a weighted GPA system that we use. And I mentioned, the totality of finding a good individual schedule and a good fit with all the other things that students have going on in their lives. If you're playing club soccer and you're also on our soccer team and you don't have much time for homework, it's probably not a great idea to load yourself down with a huge academic schedule. However, if your after school commitments are fairly light, well, then maybe it is a good idea to take a little bit more coursework so that those times when you have more extracurricular activities going on, then you can dial it back a little bit and give yourself more time. So it's a balancing act that we play semester after semester to find what's right for each student. We never want a student under challenged, and we never want a student. I do want students challenged. I think all three of us want students challenged all the time. I never want a student feeling so challenged that they feel like they're drowning, which can happen here at Barstow. So as a student and parents, if you see your student completely in over their head, that's when we need to reach out to Scott, myself, Corey, and say, hey, this isn't workable. Way too much homework. It's not there. I can tell it's becoming unhealthy. It's not going to work over 4 years. We need to make some adjustments. So we are very flexible here in terms of our scheduling, trying to find that good fit. So we have students, this is not a process where you get your schedule in August and it doesn't change ever. We are constantly making changes to the schedule and trying to find a good fit for each student. Anything you want to add, Scott?
Well, yeah, I mean, you've touched on a few of the things I think that are important. This process is all about the individual. You know what I'm saying? I think sometimes when you get into an upper school or high school, that, you want to take what your friends are taking, and that's okay. But we want to make sure that this is an individualized process. It's always based on the students, their interests, their passions, how busy they are, and certainly meeting with myself or their faculty advisor, and deciding, hey, that this amount of rigor is good for me. We have students that take all college prep coursework because college prep at Barstow is accelerated. And then, so we've got some students to take all college prep. We have students to take a mixture, and we have some students that take mainly honors and AP coursework. And so we just have to find that right balance for each student. And like Joe said, we're very flexible. That's the difference between Barstow and a public school. You know what I'm saying? And my students, my own children attended both public, Barstow and public. And, at public, when you sign up for a course, I mean, you've written it in concrete. It doesn't change. At Barstow, we're very flexible. So like Joe said, if you feel like you got into something and it's a little bit over your head, I tell students all the time when I sit down with them and help them with their schedule, come by the first week of school and give me the thumbs up. You know what I'm saying? And come by and see me and say, hey, everything's good. I feel comfortable with it, and keep doing that. And we welcome that at Barstow.
Another thing that I would say we do really well at Barstow, and hopefully you'll come to realize this in future years. And if you're an incoming 10th grader or 11th grader, it's a little bit more difficult in choosing classes. Our faculty members get to know students so well. So here, coming into Barstow new, we don't really know you yet, but we will get to know you and your strengths, your weaknesses. And so choosing courses your first time at Barstow can be a little challenging. After that, your faculty members are going to recommend for you the course that you should take next year. And for the most part, our faculty do a great job in providing a proper recommendation for the courses that you'll take next year. So after English 9, Lindsay Zimmerman, our English 9 teacher, she's going to recommend to students, you should be in the honors level. I recommend the college prep level. And then as a family, you get to decide, but that recommendation is always, spot on from where I sit. And so that happens in every single course. It happens in math, it happens in science, it happens in history. And so when you move from grade to grade, you're going to have all your teachers recommending for you what you should take in future years. Now, unfortunately, we can't do that this year because we don't know you yet. But that's what it looks like in future years when you go through the course selection process. So it actually makes it almost easier. And then you have some institutional knowledge in knowing what courses are offered and hearing how classes are for people and what they think of each class. And so that will inform your decision as well.
And Joe, I think it's important for the students to realize that, hey, it's okay to think on down the road too. So if you start out your freshman year in ancient world history college prep, because there's no other option when you start. So if you're wanting to take AP world history as a sophomore, then second semester freshman year, you'll probably be taking the honors section second semester. So you start out in college prep, then you say, hey, I did well in that. I want to take honors second semester. So I'll get the recommendation for AP world history sophomore year.
That's a good point. Very good. Let's talk about the Barstow transcript, grade point average, and transfer credit. All right. Common question that we get a lot from an incoming student is, Algebra 1 is kind of the starting math course at the high school level nationally. If I took Algebra 1 in 7th grade, does that go on the Barstow transcript? And the answer is no. We only start the Barstow transcript in 9th grade for all students, whether they've been at Barstow before or not. And so you're coming in clean slate, fresh start. If you come in at Algebra 2, and that's the first class that you take in 9th grade, colleges are going to know that you took geometry and you took Algebra 1 prior to Algebra 2 in 9th grade. Or if you come in at French 2 in 9th grade, colleges know that you've taken French 1. Has a college in 23 years, Scott, called you to say, did they take French 1 if French 3 is the first class they're taking in 9th grade?
No, they have not.
Right.
As Joe says, that's assumed.
And so we start in 9th grade, which is nice, clean, fresh start. Really important. Scott says that all the time. Really important to lay a good foundation, work hard. We don't, from a standardized testing perspective, we don't put a lot on ninth grade students. We don't have a lot of there's a lot of extracurricular opportunity, but we don't pile on the extra in terms of college meetings or testing opportunities. We just want students to concentrate on their coursework and do very well and lay a really good foundation, especially for new Barstow students. It's an adjustment. I tell prospective families that all the time. It was an adjustment for me. The rigor level that I experienced coming from a public school to Barstow, it needed my full attention. And I think for a lot of you, it'll be a similar circumstance. So it's just important to just get mentally prepared for, giving your best possible effort. And that's really all anyone can ask for, right? So we start fresh. Our transcript only has semester grades on it. So we have a first quarter, a second quarter, a third quarter, and a fourth quarter. To get a semester grade, we take the first quarter grade and the second quarter grade. Most courses are going to have some sort of final or concluding project. And so the first quarter grade, the second quarter grade, and the exam, the semester exam grade, all combine to calculate into a semester grade. And that's what goes on the transcript. So you'll get report cards from us after each quarter, and then your transcript will showcase your semester grade. Okay. Do we have any rising 10th on the chat here that are coming in from another school in 10th grade? Will you give us a hi if you're going to be a 10th or 11th grade student? Okay. That's good to know. I won't spend much time on it. If you did come in 10th grade or above, I was going to go into a little bit of our transfer process, which basically,
Joe,
yep.
Joe,
go ahead.
So Micah Holmes here is coming he'll be in 11th grade.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. So with Micah's situation, we get a transcript from the prior school. So we'll have 9th grade work and 10th grade work, and we take that work, we put it on the Barstow transcript. All right, this goes for any transfer student, not just Micah's situation. So then we take that credit, we put it on the Barstow transcript, and then we give departmental credit where appropriate. So, most students have been taking English classes and science classes and art classes. And so we put it all onto our transcript, categorized into our departments, which are building towards our graduation requirements, just like any other student would. And so it's not, so with a transfer student, I don't want them to feel like they have to take, a bunch of these 9th grade classes, because that's not the case. They're coming in, they're taking 11th grade classes with 11th grade students for the most part, because a lot of high schools most of our students are taking biology in grade 9 and things like that. So normally it's a fairly smooth process. The one thing, you also get a fairly fresh start here at Barstow as a transfer student. So the Barstow GPA, no other coursework calculates into the Barstow GPA. So your coursework here at Barstow is what calculates into your GPA. Your prior coursework is listed and the grades are listed for transfer students, but the GPA calculation is fresh starting here at Barstow. Okay. I do want to mention, although I don't really recommend it for any new Barstow student, I would suggest that you build a foundation first. But we have a program called Barstow Global Online that offers asynchronous courses to Barstow students in the summer. And so the website's linked. So when I send this to you, you can take a look. We do offer some courses that students will take over the summer. Art Fundamentals would be an example of a course that a student might take over the summer so that they don't have to take it. They don't have to take it in the fall or the spring. The goal is that they would go into a more advanced class, like a painting or, drawing, something like that. We also offer courses in the summer that are just not offered here at Barstow, like an AP Psychology comes to mind, which we don't offer here on campus. Do I recommend that for new Barstow students to take an online asynchronous course before even setting foot on campus and experiencing, what we do here? No, I don't, but I do want you to know that it exists, in case you're hearing about it from other families or friends and what they're doing. I wanted you to just have the information. All right. And then we've kind of reached the end of the information we have for you here. I did have one question on the chat that I think I touched on, but I want to make sure that I do. And how do you break up semesters is the question. And yes, 2 semesters. We have a first semester and a second semester. So first quarter and second quarter compile into the first semester. Third quarter and fourth quarter compile, they calculate into the second semester. And then we also have a summer semester for these Barstow Global online courses. I don't want to paint the picture that a ton of Barstow students are taking summer coursework. We probably have 15 to 25 students each summer in grades 9 through 12 out of 270 students taking a summer online course. So it's available. If you do take a course, it does, there is a grade. It does go on the Barstow transcript. It does calculate into the Barstow GPA, but I don't want to paint the picture like a ton of students are doing that every summer. So what are the next steps and needed items that are upcoming? All right. So the schedule, just to give you a little bit of a timeline, you are not behind in any shape or form. David works all summer putting the schedule together. He's going through that process now. We're making a couple middle school curricular changes. So he's actually doing middle school first. So he really hasn't even gotten to upper school yet. So really the first thing to do is to make sure that you as parents and students have in your possession the most updated academic records from your previous institution, whether that's an 8th grade student that's now going to come to Barstow in 9th grade or a student transferring in. Because a lot of times in the admissions process, we get like a partial transcript or grade report that has like first semester grades from 8th grade year or 9th grade year, but then we never get to see how the year ended for you, which can inform the courses that you're going to take for next year, especially with math placement or with English placement. Math placement or world language placement. And so make sure you have updated records. You share them with David in particular. That will help him put you, if you were in geometry last year, that'll, he'll put you into algebra 2. That's where those documents are helpful. And then take some time and look over that course catalog that I'll send out to you all. You get into that course catalog, look at, the courses that we offer, try to get a feel for what you might want to take when you're filling out our course selection form. And then many of you have probably already received an email from David with the course selection form for you to make selections and fill out what courses you want to take. And that's really the biggest thing that's needed, because David needs choices to fill out your schedule. Some of the courses are required and we know you're going to take them, and those are easy, particularly for our 9th grade students. But we do need your input in rank preferencing some of the additional courses that are going to fill out your schedule. And then after you get that form done, you really have completed the process for the most part. You are sitting patiently and waiting until early August. And then in early August, I'll send out an email, or David will send out an email saying schedules have populated in My Barstow. Now, what is My Barstow? That's what we're going to talk about when you come to your on-campus technology training sessions. You'll get login credentials. You can make sure you can log in, but it's our learning management system. So it's where real-time grades are showcased. Your schedule is in there, grade reports, transcripts, tons of information regarding the school, and parents and students both have login credentials. So that's a big part of what we'll do when you come on campus to get some additional information and technology training. So in typical Scott Hill and Corey and Joe Fox fashion, we have given you an avalanche of information, maybe hopefully useful and hopefully consumable. But we want to make sure that any questions that you have get answered either as you filled out David's form, or will fill out the form, or some of you have probably already filled out the form, but after this meeting, if you want to make changes to that form, that's perfectly fine. You can just email David and say, hey, I put this as my first choice, but after our session, I actually want to make a change and change my rank preferences. So that kind of concludes the formalized portion, but we would love to answer any questions that you have from the college counseling perspective, from the school perspective, the scheduling perspective. Feel free to fire away.
Boy, this is a quiet group, Joe.
Yeah, it's been a little quiet.
Okay, maybe that's because Joe scheduled this meeting at 8 a.m.
Scott's been giving me a hard time about that. Students, just get used to it.
I looked at the schedule and I was like, wait a second, this is summer hours at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. And so I was giving Joe a hard time in regards to that. I think what's neat about Barstow is the fact that, you can develop these relationships with your teachers, with the administration, which includes college counseling, and with the 100, 125 college reps that visit Barstow every fall. So, when I think of Barstow in my 20 years, of assisting students, I think of the relationships that I was able to build with students, and they get to know their teachers, the college counseling staff, and the colleges. So when they apply to the colleges, you have a rapport with those representatives. Sometimes you meet with them year after year at Barstow. Right now we're undergoing kind of a change because of the pandemic. We used to maybe have 125, 130 colleges walk through our front doors each year. Obviously last year we didn't have any visitors, but we had 80, 85 virtual college visits. So our students were still able to get those touches with the colleges and build those relationships. Because we know when you apply to college, if you apply to, wherever it might be, and maybe it's University of Chicago, you want to know the University of Chicago rep, and you want to have that relationship. And so we help you with those relationships. But, Barstow's a neat place. Like Joe said, I actually was Joe's college counselor way back in the day. And he's come full circle and come back, and and he's an administrator at Barstow, which we're awful lucky to have him.
I thought you were gonna say it's a miracle.
I wouldn't put you on the spot like that and say that, but no, it's been great. So make sure that you reach out. That's why we gave my contact information. It's okay to give me a text or give me a phone call if you have questions. This process can be a little bit overwhelming. When Joe, when that course curriculum guide comes up on the screen and it's 65 pages, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have no idea, say where to go next. Someone's always here. And thing is, and we work all summer, like Joe mentioned. So please feel free to reach out. I'm just kind of curious. I'd like to kind of hear from a few of the students, maybe where you're coming from, what middle school, what area of Kansas City, so I can kind of get a feel. Anybody like to jump in?
So I actually had a question. So in 9th grade, how would I get a meeting with a college counselor?
Okay, that's a great question. So the thing is, we pretty much have an open door policy. A lot of people don't realize that Barstow has a second floor even. And so, it's a pretty flat building, but there is a second floor right off the front lobby. You can come up the stairs and stop by and see us, and we'll find a time to meet with you. Usually I like to meet during the students' free period, so you're not opting out of class. For college visits, you can actually opt out of class. You know what I'm saying? You tell the instructor that you're going to meet with a college, and then you would come up to the college counseling center and meet with that college. But usually it's, sometimes it's after school, but usually it's during the student's free period. Like as a freshman, you probably have maybe at least one free period and maybe two based on your needs. So you can email me, you can text me, you can stop by the office, any of those ways to set up a meeting.
All right. You want to introduce yourself since you started talking?
Yeah, Mom, I like it.
Go ahead.
So I'm Kat. Because of the pandemic, we homeschooled this year, but prior to that, I was at Lincoln College Preparatory Academy Middle School.
Oh, great. Welcome, Kat.
I have a question on the chat. Great question. Hard to answer because I think what Barstow is, but can you walk us through a typical day for a 9th grade student? Which is a great question. My perspective, maybe it's different from Corey's as a teacher. We have the academic day from, let's say, the hours of 8:30 to 3:30. That's going to look fairly consistent for each student. That's going to be 6 or 7 courses, the required courses that I mentioned. We do incorporate breaks throughout the day. So, you're coming in, greeting friends, before school, you're, maybe you have biology class first or English class first, and you're just kind of, that's going to be typical to the high school experience that most kids have, navigating going to different classes on different days when your friends probably have other classes. We normally have like 4 sections of each class, if that makes sense. So there's like 4 sections of English 9 meeting at different hours. That's how the schedule is formulated. So you'll be in one of those hours. Same thing for biology, 4 sections. You'll be in one of those 4 sections. So you're navigating the day. Lunch, we have what's called flex times that are just break times. We have times during the day that are completely unstructured. That includes faculty. We call it flex. And the idea is that students know that their teacher does not have an obligation during that time. If I have questions about math homework, I can go to that teacher's classroom during flex time and get extra help, ask questions, because I know my teacher should be available. That's why we put flex time into the schedule. We also have class meetings where 9th graders are going to meet as a group. 11th graders are going to meet as a group, go over important, upcoming dates, student leadership opportunities to lead those meetings. We have advisory groups where 9th and 10th graders meet in small groups with a teacher to discuss just how, just check-ins. How's everything going? They help immensely with like course selection. They'll do individualized grade check-ins with students at various times during the year. Corey's big job this summer is meeting with our grade level coordinators and department chairs to try to put a little bit more form into our advisories and what they do and what the mission of those groups are and how we can use that time as valuable, as in the most valuable fashion that we can. So the academic day, and I said it was kind of simple, but then I just went for like 2 minutes on what the academic day looks like. I think for me, what really can be not typical for a 9th grade student or any upper school student is the time spent in the building based on what they're doing. There are some students here, they spend more time in the building than I do, which is unbelievable to me because believe me, I spend a fair amount of time in the building. But when I get here at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, they might already be in the upper school commons working. And that's for a variety of reasons. They maybe live far away and their parents are taking one car and their parent has to get to work early. So they're dropped off and they're getting, pretty quiet, individualized homework done early in the morning. And then, when I'm after school ends, 3:30, a lot of students are going to an athletic practice. So in the fall, it could be girls tennis. It could be boys soccer. It could be co-ed track and field. It could be volleyball, girls volleyball. Most of our upper school practices are occurring right after school from about 3:30 to 5:30, somewhere in that range. And then after that, we'll have students that are in the upper school musical. Well, that practice normally starts about 5:30 and that's going to like 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night. So that is, so a student that is really stretching themselves from an extracurricular perspective, they could be in the building from 7 o'clock in the morning to 7 or 8 o'clock at night consistently, through September or October when that musical is taking place. And then the middle school musical starts up and then the upper school pretenders play occurs. And we have robotics that's going on and we have debate work nights and we have, I'm leaving off quite a few things, right? Those are just the things off the top of my head. Cyber Patriot, which is our computer security team that will have work nights and competitions. And so that's where the typical day becomes not so typical because we have 9th grade students that are delving, and any student delving into all these different areas. And it can really make your day look very unlike some of your friends who maybe aren't as involved in an extracurricular fashion. And they come at 8 o'clock in the morning, they go to class and they go home at 3:30 and they're in the building 5 less hours a day than you are. So it can be, very different for every student.
Yeah, I'll just add that it is entirely possible to be a student who's not involved in a significant way in extracurriculars at Barstow. They show up 5 minutes before class starts, they're gone out of the building 5 minutes after class ends. That's possible, but that's really, really rare. The majority of students are very engaged in a wealth of different activities, and I want to encourage you to try new things and to become as engaged as possible. Now, obviously you have to be careful with that. But Joe's absolutely right. You know, I'm in here a lot of evenings, and it is not uncommon for me to leave and see a group of students still in here working on something, like especially the theater students spend a tremendous amount of time preparing for productions. You know, it's and actually you're probably thinking like, well, the actors are putting in all that time. It actually ends up being the students who work behind the curtain who end up being here till, you know, 10, 11 o'clock on a Saturday night because they're building a set. So so what a normal day looks like can be very, very different from student to student. But I definitely want to encourage you all to find an opportunity to get involved in something and experience something new.
Was there anyone else that wanted to introduce themselves or give us a
I had a
little
question.
hint, maybe where they're coming from?
Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, hey, Joe, nice to see you again. Scott and Corey, nice to meet you. Just a couple questions that maybe differ from the lower school to upper school, or maybe for transfers here. I know that my younger son has a book that he has to read, like assigned during the summer, and that becomes part of the fall coursework, I believe. Is there a book that that the kids need to be reading now so they're ready for fall?
Yeah, that's a great question. Mark Luce is our upper school. He's our English department chair. He just sent me the list yesterday with all these summer reading books. And so I'll get that out later this week or Monday of next week. Every grade level, 6 through 12 here at Barstow, we ask students to read 2 books over the summer. And so we're going to go into this more in our in-person meetings. Basically all the books for all of our classes at the middle and upper school level. We don't provide the books. We just give you an ISBN number, and you can purchase the books through any means that you want, whether it's an electronic purchase on a Nook or an iPad, whether you want to physically have the book. We just give you the ISBN that's appropriate. So when the teacher says turn to page 63, your page 63 matches their page. And so we give 2 books. Obviously, they vary significantly from like 6th to 12th grade, but we do hit the ground running hard in classes, in particular in our English classes. We'll get right into discussion. I remember as a student, you know, there wasn't much of a ramp up or there wasn't much of a transition into class. We would walk into class, the teacher would say, "Hi, I'm Miss Smith," and then she'd say, like, "What did people think of, you know, The Old Man and the Sea?" Like, and we would just start having a discussion literally on the first day. And I thought that was always fairly unique. So I will be getting those books out to everybody. And I'll be sending that email to not just new students, but every single student and parent at the middle and upper school level. So it's a great question. The summer reading is really the only,
Thank you.
No problem. That's really the only thing that's formalized in terms of summer reading. Sometimes there'll be some math packets or some math, work or things that are given out by teachers that can be worked on over the summer. The only other thing that I'd mention is Angela Goulden, who teaches our modern world history to 10th grade students. If you're planning on taking her AP course, she does have some summer work that she wants the students to complete. I've already forwarded that to any incoming 10th grade student that was, maybe not even thinking about the AP level, but they have the information. So Ben, great question. Thank you.
Yeah, I had 2 more real fast. So the next thing was the iPad. I believe that they're checked out in the lower school, and did I read that we need to purchase and bring one by the 14th for upper school? Okay, good. Thanks for clarifying. And then, are there any camps? I know the camps are focused towards lower school. Is there anything this summer that the 9th grade or whatever 10th grade kids coming in are there any camps or anything that they can get involved with at Barstow this summer that's not necessarily coursework, in advance to start in their freshman year?
Yeah. Correct on the iPad. You do purchase it. You purchase any iPad that you want. You bring it in. We put it on our network basically, which allows us to, this is for middle school students, not for upper school students. It allows us to push apps out to them in real time as they're needed. And it helps with Apple Classroom setup and things like that are used at the lower school level, I'm sure. And so that's all correct on the iPad. The only camps that I can really think of, I can put you in touch with Dan McNichol. I'm not sure how he runs our summer program. I'm not sure how many camps he runs for upper school students, but the one
There
thing
aren't any. No.
there aren't any. Okay. But the one thing that comes to mind for me, and I'll touch base with Don Stelting, who's our athletic director. A lot of times over the summer, we'll have workouts, open gyms, things like that for our sports team. So like this morning, the girls volleyball team is having a workout. They're in there doing sit-ups and, running around the gym and just having a general workout. So I'll get with Don and find out when those times are occurring. Volleyball is really, and basketball, I think just started. They really just started this week. So I can kind of find out from Don when those things are occurring, get those out to new upper school students. So if you're interested in playing volleyball, you can reach out to the coach, find out, when they're occurring. Sometimes we'll do team camps, especially for basketball or volleyball, where you'll travel to a particular, maybe a Tulsa or a Oklahoma City, something like that, and take part in a tournament over a weekend in July. Those are really the only things I can think of.
Joe, I'd like to mention a few things, though, to understand that, saying your high school portfolio, so your high school record doesn't start in August when you start classes. So for volunteer, for service hours, that starts this summer, the summer prior to you beginning. So the thing is, a lot of our students would, especially at the freshman level, are getting service hours through our summer camps or summer programs. So you might check with Dan McNichol, their volunteers, maybe this year as a freshman, maybe a volunteer as a sophomore, and then junior and senior year, they're paid positions. So the thing is, if a student wants to, meet some of their fellow classmates and get in a little bit early and do some volunteer work, I'm sure they're always happy to have volunteers. And that way you can get those service hours accomplished in the summer prior to the school year beginning, which is very popular. So a lot of our students volunteer at summer at Barstow. A lot of them are paid employees also. So, I think that would be fantastic.
Reach out to Dan on that, or someone else.
Go ahead, Ethan.
Yeah, hi. We do have a couple of questions regarding the service hours. How do we track that for Barstow? I know where we volunteer, we have to clock in and clock out, but how do we provide that information to Barstow?
That's a great question. So right now you can just keep a general log. By log, I mean a piece of paper or an Excel spreadsheet that just has the information in it. Once we get started in the next, with the next school year, probably in advisories or in grade level meetings, you're going to get registered in our system, which is called X2Vol. It's just a web platform that kids will have an account in. And that's where we do all of our tracking. And it's nice. It lists a lot of the nonprofits that we use. You can add your own. It sends verification emails to the supervisor that was overseeing the service work that you did. And so it's a nice organization platform. We've been using it only in upper, but we're going to next year move it down. We want all middle and upper school students with an account where they can start early in 6th and 7th inputting hours. So by the time they get to 9th, 10th, and 11th, they're familiar with it and it's an afterthought. And so the service isn't an afterthought, but the tracking the service is the afterthought. And so that's something we'll get you set up with fairly early on next year.
Okay, super. And we have one more question regarding the upperclassmen. Are we to purchase a laptop, or I know that the younger kids use iPads, but what are the requirements for the older kids?
Yeah, and it's very, I would say very loose in terms of requirements. So we really just require a device that connects to the internet and can connect to printers. Most of our upper school students are using a laptop of some kind. I would say 85 to 90% are using some sort of MacBook Air, that sort of thing. Our debate team members tend to use more PC laptops. I've seen some Surface tablets. I'm more of a Mac guy. I'm not too familiar with the Windows products, but I certainly have seen plenty of them, more kind of this hybrid tablet / computer. But the biggest at the upper school level and middle school level, we're using some specific apps to get work done, Shobi and Kahoot and a lot of different things. At the upper school level, we're using the G Suite, Gmail, Google Docs. We're logging into My Barstow, which is the learning management system. So really any device that can access the internet and then connect to printers is perfectly fine.
All right, thank you.
Yep. This group's warming up a little bit. Scott, got some questions. We got some questions out of them. Good. Anything else before we break for today? I really appreciate everybody's time and joining. I don't think it was too early, but I can understand. Scott's a late riser. He thought he thought it was a little bit too early, but I appreciate everybody joining us. So the session's been recorded. We'll send it out. I'll send the slides out with all the embedded links so you can take a look. If you take one thing away, I'll give you two things to take away as the main and biggest ideas. One, your schedule will be built next year, and we are very flexible. So I don't want you to feel a sense of stress or a sense of missing the boat or whatever is on. When you see that schedule for the first time, it's set in stone, and oh my goodness, I can't believe that's what I received. Very common for a new Barstow 9th grade student to say, I want one study hall. And then 3 weeks in, they're like, wow, this is more rigorous than I thought. I'm going to drop out of this class and have 2 study halls. Like that happens all the time, right? The second thing to take away is that you can contact the 3 of us at any time. We're here to help. We like to help. We enjoy conversations like this. We want this to be, it's a complicated process. We want it to be as smooth as possible. So do not hesitate to send us an email. I like to joke that I have the easiest email address in Barstow system, joe.fox@barstowschool.org, right? So do not hesitate to get clarification when you have questions. We really appreciate everybody joining us, taking the time, and I hope everyone has a wonderful summer. The school in general will be sending out more information regarding COVID procedures and daily schedule. And we're going to start probably July 1, really churning out some information to you all. So keep an eye on your email. But until then, we'll see some of you on campus next week and then in July and August. But I wish you all the best and get some relaxation in the summer as we prepare for next year. All right. Thank you all. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.